The small gray courtroom carried a chill that morning, like it sensed the storm brewing within. Rain slammed against the tall, arched windows, smearing streaks of silver light across the polished stone floor. The people inside shifted uncomfortably in their seats, murmuring quietly, stealing anxious glances toward the front. At the defense table sat Staff Sergeant Lucas Harlan, a 39-year-old combat veteran with 2 tours in Afghanistan behind him. His once athletic frame had withered with time and trauma. His skin was pale, and a thick, weathered brace wrapped around his left leg. A pair of battered crutches leaned against the chair beside him. His face bore the kind of pain that went far deeper than flesh, and yet he remained composed. Lucas wore his old dress blues, the medals dulled but neatly pinned, his jacket pressed to perfection. It wasn't vanity, it was memory, a reminder of who he had been before the war. Today, he wasn't on trial for a crime of violence or greed. No, he was in court because he had missed 2 scheduled appearances tied to unpaid parking citations, fines he couldn't handle due to his mobility issues navigating the city's unfriendly transit system post-injury. The court, however, didn't care about his limp. That much had already been made clear. Presiding over the hearing was Judge Caroline Mercer, known for her rigid adherence to the letter of the law and her disdain for anything that resembled an excuse. She didn't see people, she saw cases. A missed appearance was contempt, and contempt was punishable. The city's representative, Assistant Attorney Finley Ward, barely looked up from his case folder. He was young, clean-cut, and confident this was an open and shut matter. To him, Lucas was just another name on a docket. The room fell silent as the clerk stood. "All rise," she announced. Judge Mercer entered briskly, her black robe flowing behind her like a storm cloud. She took her seat with mechanical precision. Case number 44726. Staff Sergeant Lucas Harlan, you are charged with contempt of court for failure to appear. Lucas stood slowly, gripping one crutch to steady himself. "Not guilty, Your Honor," he said, his voice controlled but strained. Judge Mercer flipped through the thin file on her desk. "Your reasons have been documented," she said coldly. "But contempt is contempt. You were ordered to appear. You did not." Lucas opened his mouth to speak, but she cut him off with a sharp raise of her hand. "We move to sentencing," she declared. "Given your military service, I will consider leniency." A slight stir moved through the gallery. "But this court," she continued, "demands respect. Before sentencing, you will stand unassisted and face this bench as any able-bodied citizen would." Her words fell like hammer blows in the still air. Lucas froze. His grip on the crutch tightened. He'd been warned by doctors, standing without support could cause permanent damage. He could collapse. He might never walk again. Yet there she sat, staring him down, unrelenting. "You will stand," she repeated, her face further contempt. Gasps echoed across the room. Even Ward shifted in his seat, discomfort creeping onto his face. Lucas clenched his jaw. And then, with excruciating slowness, he set aside his crutches. The room held its breath. His right leg bore the weight hesitantly. His left leg, shredded by shrapnel years ago, quaked beneath him. The brace groaned with effort. Lucas swayed, his arms stiff by his side, every tendon stretched to its limit. He clenched his teeth, his body ablaze with agony. Judge Mercer tapped her pen on her notepad. "Full compliance," she said. Lucas didn't defy. He didn't speak. He endured. 3 seconds passed, an eternity, and then his left knee gave out. It bent inward violently. Chairs scraped. Someone screamed. Lucas crashed to the floor, his head striking tile with a sickening thud. His crutches skittered across the floor. A woman in the back let out a cry. A veteran stood with fists clenched. But Lucas, broken, breathless, tried to push himself up again. He wasn't doing it for drama or sympathy. He was doing it because he was a soldier. And soldiers rise. Judge Mercer didn't move. For a moment, her steely facade cracked, just a flicker of doubt in her eyes. "Bailiff," she said at last, voice tight. "Assist the defendant." The bailiff, an older man with sorrow in his face, rushed to Lucas's side. "Easy, Sergeant. Easy now." Lucas shook his head, trying to refuse the help. He wanted to stand. He had to. The courtroom doors burst open. A young woman sprinted inside, her blue hospital scrubs soaked through. Her badge bounced against her chest as she rushed forward. "Lucas," she cried, falling beside him. "Don't move. It's okay. I'm here." It was his sister, Kara Harlan, a trauma nurse at the local VA hospital. Tears streaked her cheeks as she cradled her brother's body in her arms. She whispered comfort. She whispered pride. Lucas weakly clasped her hand. "I'm sorry," he rasped. "I tried. You did, she whispered fiercely. You did. And everyone in that courtroom saw what he was, not a criminal, not a defiant man, but a hero who had given more than most and asked for nothing in return. Judge Mercer shifted again. Her eyes darted across the crowd. She could feel it, the tide turning. She had lost control of the courtroom, and perhaps more. In the back row, an elderly man in a faded army jacket stood. Then another, and another. One by one, veterans across the room rose in silence. No chants. No threats. Just presence. Sit down. Mercer barked. No one did. An elderly woman, metals shining on her blazer, stepped forward with her cane. My grandson died in Kandahar, she said, her voice trembling with grief and fury. If he were here, you'd be ashamed of what you did to this man. A shudder moved through the room. Ward shifted uncomfortably, then slowly began to pack up his things. He knew the case was already lost. Mercer pounded her gavel. Order. A veteran in the third row growled. That man gave his leg. And you tried to humiliate him. Silence fell. Then, from the jury box, one woman rose. Then another. Soon, half the jurors stood, tears in their eyes. The bailiff leaned down again. Let's do this your way, Sergeant. Lucas nodded weakly. They helped him to a seated position against the wall. His breathing remained labored, but he looked up at all those standing for him. He didn't cry. He simply nodded. A quiet salute. The courtroom no longer belonged to Judge Mercer. It belonged to Lucas now. To dignity. To truth. Judge Mercer's lips parted. No words came. The chants began. Honor him. Honor him. Honor him. She looked toward. He avoided her gaze. Looked to the bailiff. He bowed his head. She stood slowly, her gavel forgotten. Sergeant Harlan, she said, voice cracking. This court owes you an apology. The courtroom hushed again. I ordered you to stand, without understanding, without respect. I failed you. I failed everyone here. She stepped down from the bench. And then she did something unthinkable. She knelt before Lucas. I'm sorry, she said softly. And thank you. A gasp echoed. Lucas looked down at the woman kneeling before him and placed a shaking hand on her shoulder. He forgave her. Without words. With grace. Sunlight broke through the clouds, filling the courtroom with gold. Outside, the rain had stopped. Hours later, when Lucas was wheeled out of the courthouse, hundreds had gathered. Flags waved. Signs rose. Respect our heroes. Lucas Harlan, American strength. He was met not with chaos, but with silence. Then slow, respectful applause. A reporter approached. Mr. Harlan, what do you want people to take from today? Lucas looked into the camera. I didn't stand because I was ordered to. I stood because it's what we're trained to do. To rise. To move forward, no matter how broken. He paused. And when I couldn't stand, I learned that doesn't mean I failed. It means I gave everything I had. That clip would echo across the nation. TV. Phones. Everywhere. Lucas Harlan became a voice. For the fallen. For the forgotten. He didn't seek fame. But he couldn't ignore the duty. He was appointed ambassador for veterans' rights, traveling the country, speaking not like a politician, but as a man who lived it. He stood in schools, town halls, stadiums. And when he spoke, he didn't talk about himself. He talked about Bobby, Marcus, Angela, JT, those who never came home. He gave speeches at Arlington, laid poppies one by one. He reminded the world that sacrifice is not a statistic. It's a name, a face, a voice once heard in the dark. Eventually, at that very courthouse where it all began, a statue was raised. A soldier kneeling, not in surrender, but in strength, crutches at his side, unbowed. The plaque read, Dignity isn't in how long you stand. It's in refusing to fall. In honor of Staff Sergeant Lucas Harlan. He stood there with his sister, touching the cold bronze. I didn't stand alone, he said quietly. And in that moment, Lucas Harlan felt whole, not because the world changed for him, but because he changed it for others. Because he kept standing, exactly where it mattered most.